Hello, beautiful humans. Welcome back to another episode of Naked Sunday. And I have my friend, my new dear friend, Candice, from all the way across the other side of the world right now, joining us on the episode today. Candice, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Caleb. It is an honor to be here on the podcast, to be here sharing with your audience. Super excited and super just grateful for our friendship as well and our connection.
I took the words out of my mouth. I'm just grateful. If you've listened to any of the episodes, I start all my podcast episodes off with why I appreciate my guest. And you have just been, you can always tell, like, we both are kind of people like vibe people. Like, there's an energy. I even remember just coming, we got connected through a friend and just our back and forth. They're just like, yeah, we just kind of go with the flow. We both kind of have that energy about us. But,
Yes.
it kind of really cemented that feeling of like, I just know this person. Like, this is kind of my people,
Yep.
is you're so generous. Like, we had that first chat, just like, how do we support each other? What are we going to like? How do we want to like all of that stuff? And then, of course, I'm sure we're going to talk about it today. You offered to do an ancestral alignment session with me. Was it 2 weeks ago? Which that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've have some had some reflections on it. It's been great, but I think we need more people like that who just have this generous, loving spirit that really. And plus, you kind of like you don't operate from like a victim mindset. You just truly move forward and look to connect and love. We just need that in this world. Far be it for me to
Yes,
say,
we do.
don't call me crazy. Like, well, I think world peace maybe one it might happen one day. I don't know, but maybe I'm just a dreamer. I don't know. So, thank you for being you.
Yes, well, thank you for being you as well. That feeling is mutual. And I will say, as somebody who vibes well with people, as generous as I am, it's very aligned with whom I share my gifts with. Um, because there are certain people who can kind of intuitively let it land and just feel it in their body and be open minded and be receptive. When there's a certain level of receptivity to what I offer, it's just a deep energetic knowing, and it's a very simple thing to extend something from my spirit, something from my heart, something that I've developed as a method true and dear to my heart and soul. And so the goal is to spread it far and wide and to as many people ready to receive the work as possible, and look at what it's done. It's opened up a huge conversation for us. And that this was the whole purpose of it, and without really needing to know all the nitty gritty details of, okay, why do I feel inclined to do this? Just trusting that soul instinct and letting it, guide me from there.
I love it. I just love it. Let's do this. You know yourself better than I. So, share with the audience, who are you?
Yes, my name is Candice Rebollo. I do many a things, but really at the core of me, I'm an intuition coach. I mainly work with women in developing their spiritual gifts and helping them hone in on what they're here to share with the world. Whether it be the birth of a business, whether it be the embodiment of a certain frequency so that they can attain their other goals, whatever the case might be, I'm really here to help women expand into who they want to be as a divine feminine in the world. And that looks many different ways, but it's really for the spiritual woman who is ready to expand and heal certain aspects of herself to reach the highest aspects of who she can be in this lifetime. And I've also created numerous courses as well. And I think my most, prized, my most adored method that I've created is Ancestral Alignments, where it combines psychic mediumship and psychic somatic work in this beautiful, potent way to access certain stories and hidden gifts in your lineage to help you just simply expand more by telling the untold. And the untold is oftentimes what holds the key to our quantum leaps, to our abundance, to our love lives, to our healthy relationships, whatever it is that, each woman is working on. It'll vary woman to woman. But as you can see, the work is for anybody too. I do this work with men as well, and it's very expansive. I have a few one-on-one clients who are men as well, and it is, both for men and women. It's incredibly powerful work. So that's who I am. I'm this like intuition coach who embodies one-on-one coaching, who teaches courses, group work. It's like I have these kind of couple things going on, but really it's here to help those ready to expand into the truest versions of themselves to step up and meet themselves where their spirit really is waiting for them.
I was laughing a little bit while you're saying that because I'm like, as for a dude, I'm pretty in touch with my feminine side, and we joke around this house. Well, we joke more. My wife rags on me. She's like, "You're the chick of our marriage." Like I'm all about. I'll cry all the time. Whatever. It's all in touch with my feelings. When we had our gender reveal here, I was crying like 2 feet over from here. Like, oh, I gotta, you guys thought I was gonna get away with this without crying. I was like, it's whatever.
Oh my gosh, what are you having?
We're gonna have a girl.
A girl. Oh my gosh, that is amazing. Congratulations.
Right?
And I think that's a very healthy thing for you to be embodying your feminine, because women are needing to embody more of their masculine too. So that's one of the collective kind of inner dances I feel that we need to go through as human beings, is realizing we're feminine and masculine. And if we there's no problem with leaning towards one or the other at times, but overall, internally, as balanced human beings, as a part of our evolution, we really need to check and balance that energy within ourselves.
I think that's hard for people to rectify though. Like there's all,
It
and
is.
especially I've seen it like a lot of the people I work with, ironically, actually are too heavy in their masculine. And
Mm,
like, how do you come back to that creative flow and like make space and restore and recover when traditionally, especially a lot of my people first come to me for like fitness kind of concepts. I'm a dude and I look like a gym bro to most people. It's
yeah.
like, you think it's
Yeah.
going to be, we're going to, you know, count calories and all like, and yeah, some of the tactics are there, but it's like, how do we make space for that? How do we breathe into this? How do we, and it sounds very flowy. How do you breathe into making space in your life? It's like, well, how do you make time and space and communicate and flow? So I think that's really cool that you're saying that people don't think about the harmony of those two energies that lie within us. And
Yes.
it's obvious when you really think about it, but most people just can't put those things, they just don't know how to put those two things together.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, it's conditioning. So what I feel is what brings out the feminine in anybody is healing work and deconditioning, because we've either been conditioned to be too far in our feminine for some women, right? Just be the good girl, be docile, just go with the flow, follow what everybody else says, follow the group, anything for acceptance. And then you have the masculine, which is, when you're too far over there, it's like, don't feel anything, just stay structured. There's no time for flow, there's no creativity. What is creativity? Get things done, make the to-do list, right? The balance comes when we decondition whatever side we're on and that we've been conditioned into. And as we do that, the feminine energy in us gets to express. So the funny thing is, I tell this to my clients all the time. Everyone's feminine energy, man or woman, is going to express itself differently. And the very nature of feminine energy is you can't box it in. You couldn't possibly. You couldn't possibly box in the feminine. And the moment that you try to, that's when you're making her masculine. That's when you're making the feminine masculine. So what happens is you have to actually let the feminine naturally express itself. The more that it's healed, the more that you heal and decondition, the more you start to realize, oh wait, I have different needs. Oh wait, I have this creative desire. Oh wait, I really need to rest and recover. Oh wait, I really just need to sleep and do nothing for a while. Or wow, I really need to like create something, whatever it is, right? That expression comes naturally once you are healing and once you are deconditioning. So I don't think there's an A through Z process or A through C or whatever you want to call it. There's no step by step, other than, in my opinion, and what I see in so many of my clients, is you just have to decondition and heal all the aspects you didn't even know you were carrying that make you cap your being, that make you cap your consciousness. When you release the cap, it's like then the feminine can play and the feminine in you can rise, and life becomes easier and more intuitive. And sometimes it does give you more to do at times too. Like I will tell you, with my feminine, the more I heal, the more the feminine in me just like wants to create and do, now create this project and create this intuitive tool to teach people. And so then my masculine is having to contain my own feminine, like, okay, we want to do this, like, see why, and okay, and then I have to put structure to it. So I have to continually be in both my feminine and my masculine, literally, to make my business work.
Well, I love that you just described that. And I kind of want to get a little bit in a second, like into the, like, what does it mean to heal the feminine? What does it mean to heal the masculine? But I wanted to first come back to just what you're saying there. It's not one or the other. It's knowing how to use the two. You're knowing
Yes.
how to use some structure, which what I've witnessed, ironically, we come back to our old frameworks that we have learned through a way that was usually not so super healed. But it's less of being told to do. It's just more like, this is actually how I like to show up. I like the order and the structure that comes from this because I find I best express this creative energy through that.
Yep.
Different than the feeling like you have somebody putting their thumb on you and being shoved into a box. It's more, I
Correct.
see how these two energies work together to be the appropriate packaging. That's the best word I can
Yes.
use right now. So
Yes.
I really liked what you were saying there. It's not one or the other. They're not bad or good. They just are, and they have to do that. Can you share a little bit? Because when we get into the spiritual talk, things can get very woo and can be very out there. But from like a
Yes.
practical standpoint, because I know a lot of people who listen to this, like they're business owners, they have an inclination to a lot of like spirituality and connection, as do I. But like when we
Mhm.
talk about healing the feminine or healing the masculine, can you give us a little more like for dummies kind of guide, like that, like the basics for us here?
Yes. Yes. As best as I can. And like I said, every single person is different. Like to me, literally, what it's like for me with my healer hat on, right? Which is kind of like really just Candice. When I'm looking at people, each person I see is like a library of human consciousness and untold stories and untapped potential and all of these different things. And it's meant to express itself differently. Each human being is like a thumbprint of the cosmos. So, how each of us needs to heal and decondition and heal the masculine and feminine is going to be specific to us, but it likely always, most of the time, I'm saying always and most of the time, I'm saying like, these two different things at the same time. And trust me, that's the oxymoron of this work. It really is like that. It's the lineage work because the men, the paternal side and the maternal side, they each carry codes and frequency on a genetic level. And that genetic code that you've been given, right, from your ancestors has a specific frequency to produce through you. You are meant to embody something within that genetic code that has likely yet to be expressed. And so when you unlock it and you understand, okay, you have to understand the stories of the paternal lineage. You have to understand the stories of the maternal lineage. Most of us have no clue because some of our parents are really connected to us, granted. And even still, we won't know the untold stories that they just forget are significant, and we don't know those and how they completely tie to our destiny, to our expression of our humanity, of our masculine feminine energy. And then it gets even worse when you have people, say like me, who were raised in incredibly toxic environments where the family system is just so damaged. To even sit down and talk about deep family things and old stories is like out of the question. So you have to kind of like dig and find these stories out on your own because there's so much there. There's oh, I could go into this for days, but the things that get trapped in a family lineage, like the trauma and the gifts, are completely specific to who you are. It's cultural. It has a lot to do with patriarchal structures that we were all raised in, be it through religion, cults, government systems. There's so much trauma, and there's so much potential in our genetic codes, in the untold stories. And as we start to unlock that which wants to be seen and the story is told, then you get to express something different. You understand yourself in a different way. And just by the very nature of understanding, it's like you open Pandora's box. Now there's new possibilities. Now your consciousness is functioning from a frequency that you didn't even know was accessible to you, simply because you never had the time to think about it. And you would have never, who teaches us to even stop and tell the stories of our ancestors, right? But it's so significant. And this is why ancient cultures around the world, that's why they would sit around fires and tell stories. It's beyond sitting down to connect with each other. It is you're holding on to a genetic story and a frequency so that it might activate in the here and now and for the descendants. So it is so much bigger than we can even comprehend. And it awakens things and it helps us decode different things within our genetic system. There's new access. I mean, there's even new access to health and wellness in doing these very things, these very practices that I'm speaking on. So the expressions and expansions and healing that happens, it's so like a thumbprint. So I hope I did my best to answer that, because it is like it's trying to like shove a watermelon through a water hose to try to answer that one in a way, because it's so expansive. How can you take one person and try to quantify how or who they are and how they specifically are going to awaken? We don't know until we open their book together. And that's my favorite thing ever in the world. It's like I see people as just so precious, and the moment you start to unlock them and untie the knots, it's like it's beautiful.
Thank you. I mean, I understand why it's a hard thing. Like, all I can really say from, we'll call it my spiritual journey, especially my foray into things like psychedelics and ayahuasca and that kind of stuff. Like, you use the specific things to, like, once you have the awareness, it's like, huh, this whole different world opens up, and you're like, uh-huh. I feel like
Hmm.
it's almost like somebody who finally under did all that studying, and then finally like the whole equation makes sense. You're like, oh, like it
Yes.
was so obvious, and it was there in front of me the whole time, like one of those
Yep.
kinds of things. So I
Yep.
get it. I mean, like, it's very hard to say, well, you're an individual, but kind of my interpretation, what I was also hearing in that is like, when I think of feminine energy, especially for healing, that like I always feel like there's a stifling of the creative energy. That's kind of my
There is.
typical understanding of what that has always been, that flow state that I'm I'm capable, not to say that the masculine like men often like to just build and create things, but like that comes from like this flowy creative like energy that's within us.
Yes.
So if you're feeling that blockage or the stifling of something, and I know that in my life, a lot of it's been like speaking my truth, whatever, quote unquote, if somebody's not
Same.
watching it. Um, that makes sense. Let me ask, how did you get to this work? Or did the work just find you? Like one of the classic, like one of those kind of
Oh,
things.
work found me. The work found me, and it would not leave me. Um, so ancestral alignments is basically my modernized version of family constellation work. So when I started my healing journey, family constellations kept intuitively pulling me, and I was like, I need to know what that is. I need to learn that. I need to learn how to facilitate that. But a lot of these, certifications would take years and years. Like some people would say you had to be studying family constellations for a decade to be able to do this work. Again, that's kind of like old way of thinking, and it has its way. But as more people start doing work, it becomes easier and easier for the generations after them to just pick it up like that and run with it. And that's exactly what happened with me is I started to see I cannot wait for a certification of something to bring this to the world. I know that I can facilitate this by having watched it and been a part of it and having done so much of my other like healing journey and channeling and doing somatic work. I saw that I was supposed to do this. I was supposed to create my own method with this process and bring it to humanity. So it found me, and it would not leave me until I built this thing. In fact, the first course that I ever did, I was terrified. I was like, how am I gonna lead this course? This is like, I was so scared. And speaking of medicine journeys, I did a peyote session in Mexico. I was living in Mexico at the time when I first launched this course. The first time I did Ancestral Alignments, I did a peyote session, and I just heard so clearly that I was absolutely supposed to launch this course, and that whoever's supposed to show up is going to show up. And I need not fear anything for anything that I'm launching, whatever the case might be. I have nothing to fear in regards to money, in regards to what I'm creating, in regards to is it going to be worth it, is it not? The point is, do the thing. And when I did, I blew myself away, and I think everyone else was blown away at what they were able to do, process, and clear in the course too. And I look back and I think, thank God I just did it while afraid and having no structure, having no idea what was going to happen, and it flowed out of me in the course. So it's like I had this generalized structure of what was going to happen in the course, but what came through was 100,000 times better than I could have ever perceived in my mind by just doing the thing. So it found me and it made me do the thing. And I'm so glad I answered the call because it's my favorite thing in the world to do. It's one of my favorite things in the world to do. So it's my baby. You know, it's one of those things that it's like, just like I love my dog so much. I don't have kids yet. But it's like so precious, you know? So it found me and it pushed its way through me until I birthed it, and it would not leave me until I did. It was very uncomfortable, just so you know. It was like giving birth. Again, don't have kids, but the amount of discomfort, blood, sweat, and tears for sure, to bring that one through.
We got a lot of entrepreneurs who listen to this show. At least that's what I'm starting to gather. I pay very little attention. I don't like check any stats or any of that stuff, but I've started to have some people tell me, "Oh, I was listening to your thing." It's like, "You were listening to my podcast?" I just put this thing on and I talk to my friends. Like that's really
I
what it
love
feels
that.
like.
I love that.
But we have a lot of entrepreneurs who do this. So, and as somebody who's like, I'm doing this thing, like I feel like it's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed this is gonna work out. You know, it's like it's hard to say. Like when you feel called to some shit, like it you just can't like
Oh,
every
it
time you try to
haunts you.
stop, you
It
know?
haunts you. That's the way I describe it. Like if I have something to create and I don't do it, or if I have a download about something and I don't do it, if it's for me, it haunts me. I cannot get it out of my mind. I cannot meditate it away. I cannot dream it away. I can't clear it from my field. It is for me, and it will, like I say, haunt me until it moves through me, until I birth it, and then it's like a relief, like, oh, thank God I did that, like it's finally out. You know, that's how it feels literally for me oftentimes, because you have to move through so much fear to like create something and then launch something and hope people show up and all the things, all the like self-worth issues that you have to move through. You know, like it's an intense journey. So all the entrepreneurs listening, you know that process of bringing something from idea to conception. I believe that is one of the most powerful, courageous things we could possibly be doing on the planet right now, because we're here to create a better world. And the way it happens is by taking our ideas, our downloads, our insights, and we have to bring it out here, bring it to the masses, bring it to the people, however that's supposed to look.
A hell of a leap of faith. And you and I both know that. It's
Yes, it is.
especially when it's something truly from the heart. Ooh, like here I am kind of nakedly offering this,
Yes.
hoping that somebody I mean, there's nothing worse than like, is it going to be crickets? Like, if somebody like doesn't like something, at least you got feedback. You're like, okay, I can change something. But crickets is like the ultimate, like, oh, nobody wants this thing.
Yeah.
But I put my heart and soul into it. Um, let's. So I did an ancestral session with you. Take It was very unique. I've had plenty of people do readings stuff for me, to me, whatever you want to call it. This was very unique in that I had no idea what the hell was going to happen. We're just like, hey,
I
I'm
did.
on the call.
I don't either. Just so everyone knows, I never know what's going to happen in these sessions ever.
I had no idea somebody else was coming on the call. I was just like, and I tell a lot of people this. I'm a great guinea pig because like I'm just cool. Like I'll show up. I feel like I'll be fine. Like I can hang with
Yes.
whatever I'm gonna do.
Yes.
So let's kind of like set the foundation. Let's take it. Like that's why I love that I did this, because now we can like really talk about it. We can be
Exactly.
very you can share everything from the thing. I didn't get a chance to rewatch my thing yet, but like you can speak as freely about all the stuff. I'm cool with all of it. Um,
Perfect.
let's talk about it. Like set the scene, take us through what happened, some of the things that you're observing, because I'm always intrigued, like from your perspective, what's going on as well. So take it away.
Yeah. So with an ancestral alignment session and with Caleb's, right? With any client, the first thing we do is we formulate a goal, and through that goal is our portal into your lineage. Like you creating a goal and what you're working on in your life right now is basically your way of giving me permission to start tapping into your genetic code. And we do that through a rep. Now, sometimes the client can rep for themselves, but I find it more potent for you to sit back and observe the whole thing play out, because it's just for you, it's a little more of an awe factor, and a little, I feel like you can absorb and witness a little bit deeper your own patterns. So I brought a rep on one of my students who I've trained and clients, a near and dear friend. And it's funny, we'll touch on the synchronicity of you guys in a moment because that's wild. But she came on as basically repping Caleb and his lineage. So she doesn't know. The rep is blind to what the goal is. And I might have even, I forgot your goal. I don't know if you remember. I feel like it had something to do with career, something along those lines, something about the highest version of yourself or career. Do you remember?
I'm gonna take a gander about just like speaking more openly about like stuff.
Ah,
Like, 'cause I
yes.
know we had talked a little about like throat chakra stuff. Like I was a little
Yes.
gunky in the throat, and I just like kind of like feeling like stifled a little bit with the communicating and like more just like communicating the message. It's always that like getting more. It was mostly around like being clear around that.
Yes, I remember. I remember. So that was his goal, right? That's his goal. This ability to communicate on a broader level, that clarity in what it is that he's doing and bringing, right, to the world. So we get going in the session. The rep starts tuning into the frequency, right? What we do is this in the beginning process, we have just for a few quick moments, we have Caleb energetically send the goal as if it's already completed to the rep, and the rep's job is to just receive the frequency and the energy of it. This is how we get the session going. Now, the rep is completely blind to what the goal is. The rep has no idea and had no idea what Caleb's goal was. So it's a very like raw somatic experience. And the reason we're able to do this is because the body knows everything. The body is the most psychic thing you carry. If you learn how to relinquish control, your body has every single answer to every single thing that you could possibly imagine, literally. So this is how this work is able to just happen and unfold the way it does. And what came through is we were working on father and father's side. And this whole aspect of how, you know, as the energy was moving, as the story starts being told, we start to realize how powerful Caleb is, how much he has gotten himself through removing himself from a cult that he was raised in, and how this all was important for him to heal on his father's lineage, but also within himself. There was a lot of steps that he took himself through, and just his pure power basically made him graze over rather quickly how strong his soul is to have gotten himself through that, from point A to point B, to now leaving, to now creating a whole other way for his family system to be. And not only that, but stepping out as an entrepreneur. So this was so potent and powerful because it basically showed us, Caleb, that your messaging, your unlocking of your throat chakra comes from your ability to backtrack your steps and learning to lead people through the release, the relinquishing of the old self, of all the fears, of all the things that say you can't succeed outside of this box, right? Outside of this thing that you had gotten yourself through just by the very nature of the strength of your spirit. And now it was like you had to like backtrack, like, how did you do that again? And honoring the story and honoring your soul for what it did, because you never did. You just did the thing to get out and went through this powerful transformation without ever giving credit to your soul for what it did. And so therein lies a lot of your creativity, what you're supposed to speak on, the clarity of your business, what you're here to help people through as well, and how to really encapsulate that in your story, in your book. I remember I kept saying book, like there's the book. You know, this is when we story tell, right? We unlock the potential of who we're supposed to be. And this is so a part of your story. And while, you know, the thing that we cleared too is, oh, well, it's not about me, right? That's like the undertone of things. Like, it's not about me, it's about the people. But it's your very story that allows you to serve the people. And so the people need to know that, because that's where it's going to draw people in. So it's like this whole beautiful thing, this whole journey of your life, this epic journey was just grazed over previously, right? And now it's like we get to like come back to it and really realize, oh, this is what I'm here to dissect. This is what I'm here to then to deliver to the people and show them that they can do the same things. And it's not, and it was very clear, we're not doing this from a victim stance. I don't, it was like you were very energetically, your rep was like very much like, I'm not a victim. Like it was very clear that there was no deep like pulling down or sadness or, oh my God, woe is me, this happened to me. It wasn't even that. And I think because it was not that, you were not able to really encapsulate the full strength and power of your soul and your story, the story of your soul. So sometimes we go back and we just need to regather the gems, right? And say, oh yeah, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. This is how I'm meant to speak and again, serve the people. So I loved your alignment so much. Like that was kind of like the gist of what came through.
So what I appreciate, especially there at the end, and talk about like light bulb going on, where you just talk about like once you see it, oh, there it is everywhere else. The element of I don't think it's a big deal. It's not about me, but needing because that victim element there. Like I don't want to be seen as a victim because
Correct.
I never really have seen myself that way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've been looking at the people I've been serving of late, and they've all interestingly, they're by and large, they've come from either a very rigid background, they've had some type of severe event in their life, but often a very like religious, strict religious undertones. And so there's that been interesting because especially with religious stuff, there tends to be this element around humility and like pridefulness being uh, sinful, right?
Right.
And there I was, and I was reflecting on this session as you were saying that. I was like, huh, like I'm seeing that
Yes.
and it's seeing how so many other people are also struggling, I guess, to straddle that line. How do I communicate? Because I know some of the things I can do can help people, but how do I also, I guess, in other ways, protect other people at the same time? Because it's not coming from a place I'm trying to damn other people. I'm not trying to
Right.
make other people out to be the bad person, but I do need to share the lesson and context and story and all those things. So that's something like literally in the past, it's been 2 weeks. Yeah, I think 2 weeks since we did that. And I was just noticed that in all these things, like, ah, and here's some of the common themes that so many of the people I've been with, well, of course, there's always this similar theme.
Yes.
It's these people are finding this thing. Of course, we resonate. So I thought that was really cool. Touch on, I thought that I knew where you were going to go with the rep thing. That
Yes.
was,
Well, see, that's an extension of what you're experiencing in your clients. So what we're experiencing in our clients and who we're attracting, it's always a reflection for us. It's always this like, okay, that's how you can develop even more is when you start to see I'm attracting these kinds of people and here's what they need. It's natural. It is so natural. The people who need you, they will find you. Trust me. The rep, and this is completely unplanned because I just put a message out to the entire group and I hadn't even made the correlation until we all three were on the call together. I just put out a call to my group of those who have already trained, and I always just ask, hey, I'm doing a session on X, Y, and Z day and time, who can join? And she was like, I can. And I didn't realize until all three of us were on the call, she also escaped from a cult and was the first in her family to do it too. And I was like, this is hilarious. And this is always how it works. You'll find that the things you're repping for somebody else, they almost always directly correlate to something you're moving through or moved through in your life and or need to experience right now. Like it'll directly relate to your own family lineage. So this is how the work works all the time. There's synchronicities like this all the time in this work. That's how potent it is. And that's why I always say too, an alignment for one is an alignment for all, is an alignment for humanity. Because one person's story then unlocks the ability for another person to tell their story, even if they have no idea what's going on. So it's kind of like in my perspective, the 100th monkey syndrome. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's basically when scientists did a study, these monkeys, same species, on different islands, different parts of the world, they started to teach the monkeys how to, either they were teaching the monkeys or giving them the tools, I can't remember which it was, to learn how to crack open coconuts. And the moment that they did it and they figured it out, the monkeys on the other side of the planet figured it out too. So this sort of thing happens when one person unlocks something. It is in our collective conscious to then kind of, it tugs on us collectively to then give access to the next person to do the same thing, to tell their story, to escape their cult, to come back into alignment with their truth, right? Without needing to be bogged down by victimization. Though sometimes, and I have seen other clients that I've worked with definitely struggle a lot in leaving a cult, especially women, because there's so much stigma, attached to the feminine frequency, and her sexuality at times too. So I see a lot of women, not always as graceful as you when they're leaving the cults. But again, it doesn't, in a way, it kind of doesn't matter. It's like masculine or feminine. We're still creating the opportunity for whoever needs to do the same work to do it. And so it was just very inspiring to see what it is that you're creating, because whether the cult of religion or the cult of societal expectations, okay, it doesn't matter. It doesn't even need to get that deep and intricate, and you don't have to have come from a religious cult and an organization to need to free yourself from something. So that's essentially what it's about too, on an even grander scale. And that's what this alignment opened us to, and that's what your frequency is literally doing on this planet.
It made me think of when you said uh the more or less the freeing of one is the unlocking for the collective consciousness. It made me think of like I think it was the 4 minute mile, that forever they never thought it could be beaten.
Yes.
And all of a
Yes.
sudden one person did it. Bang, bang, bang. So many people, because
Exactly.
it sometimes takes one for us all to, oh, we believe it can be done. And
Exactly.
there's countless other examples. I think because athletic background, like I think in sports stuff, um, tends to also be a trend along the people that I like, former athlete or former something,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
But I think about that, and maybe I don't remember if I shared this with you, but I think one of the more interesting, perhaps ironic synchronicities of the whole experience of the ancestral thing is that when I remember the moment I stopped believing in the church or the cult that I was in. And I was, did I share it? Well, I'll share it for the audience, just because I don't think I've ever actually said this out loud on a recording. Um, so here we go. Look at me putting the
Tell the
revelations into
story.
actions,
Tell the
girl. I'm here with
story.
you. Let's do this, right? I was There was this event, and it wasn't too far after definitely like my world kind of was rattled, like with the death. Like his own, my best friend growing up, his mother passed from cancer. I think it definitely called into question like belief in God and things along those lines. Anyway, there was this, I'm going to call it an ancestral healing event. And I remember going to this thing, and we get there, and it's like a big, I mean, we're talking like circus tent, huge, massive, like hundreds of people in this place. And there's just so many. For the record, I don't like crowds a lot. And I looked back and I was like, this kind of might be the reason why. But there's like a dude up on a stage, he's banging a drum, and there are just people like screaming, whatever. There was like this moment at the end. You're supposed, like, the premise was we're going to forgive all of our ancestors so they can go to heaven and something or other. And I remember like it gets to this unison prayer at the end. And so everybody's praying individually. The dude up on the stage is banging away the drum. I got this short little dude next to me, like screaming, and like spits flying out of his face, and he's crying or whatever. And I just looked around, and I was like, this, something's off. This ain't it. And I remember walking out, walked through like kind of through the pearly gates. Opened the things, walked out into the light. I don't remember anything after that. I just remember like, something's up. But I think the interesting part about this, here I am about like sharing stuff, was this ancestral alignment. Like, and one of the things has been going back and healing and reconnecting with the past and understanding this in my life coming full circle with a deeper connection to spirituality. So I thought it was really unique that we had that experience together. Um, what was also unique was witnessing the rep, but more like her physical embodiments of what was
Yeah.
going on.
The things that she feels in her body as she's expressing the story.
Yeah, so when you were referencing in the beginning about like it's interest, like you said, I could have repped for myself, I guess. I think that's how you said it.
Mhm.
Um, it was unique to hear her interpret, like her embodying this stuff. You, I'll say, coaching her through it. That's all I can really describe it as. And hearing the path, it definitely, not to say that it would be bad if I was experiencing it, but it was different to, again, I've experienced a lot of kind of these reading type of experiences. This was different to more or less watch myself on
Exactly.
somebody else. That was quite
Yeah.
unique, quite unique. And
Hmm.
have like, the conversation after, I mean, I love the conversation afterwards because I just kind of sat there and I was like, all right, like I was checking off some of the things she was referencing and some of the things I was thinking about in my life. I was like, okay, that's where I would go with it. That's what that brings up for me. So that was a unique experience. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I love it so much because it does. It allows you to continue to crack your own code as you're sitting there witnessing it because it will. It will bring back the old memories or the old kind of things that, oh, that's why I did that. Oh, that's what that was about. Oh yeah, I processed it in that way. That's where I got stuck. I had to mute for a moment because as you were talking, my own throat was like activated and cleared something out, which is potent and powerful. So like you just telling this story alone is really the field, the universe wants this, wants you to tell more of these little stories that again you take for granted, or you don't necessarily see as having medicine for the people, but it's medicine for the people. So the more that you share these things and these stories, it's going to be super potent in activating your audience, and that's what your audience needs. And your content too. I remember us talking about this in like the integration aspect. It's like this is supposed to inform your content and how you're showing up more and the storytelling that you're doing to really bring the people into all that you're going to be creating in the here and now and the future. It's the storytelling. These are the inspirational things that people need to hear because they will identify with themselves. People will see through your story, they can finally see theirs, right? A lot of people don't even know the cage they're living in until someone starts telling their story and then they realize, oh wait, I'm in that same cage, damn it, how do I get out of this? You know, we don't know until we know. This is why speaking our truth, this is why telling our stories, it's everything. It's literally everything. It's how we evolve, and it's how we've evolved for thousands of years. And to negate the simplicity of storytelling like it doesn't mean anything, I think is a travesty. And so it's my joy to bring it back, and it's my joy to let people experience it because the expression of these things, it means so much and it unlocks so much, one story at a time. That's why I tell you like these things, and each time you do an alignment it's completely different, especially based on the goal that you're working on at that time. This is why I do a whole course on it because it is, you can like, can you imagine telling all the stories of your genetic code? Your genetic code, I believe they've unraveled that one line of genetic code, like the length of it, I think can wrap around the planet. Correct me if I'm wrong. Someone fact check that. But I think one bit of your genetic code, okay, like your DNA, can wrap around the entire planet in terms of length. That is crazy. That is crazy that all of that is coiled into who you are. And I try to tell people there's no such thing as junk DNA. The society that that we live in tries to condition you into believing that part of you is junk and that you're not, and that you not using all aspects of your brain or your genetic code and your genetic sequencing is somehow just junk and that's how it's supposed to be. It's not that. we are unlocking something really potent and powerful that I don't even fully conceptualize. And I don't know that it can be fully conceptualized by any of us yet, but it is going to be a very profound next few generations as we start to collectively unlock who and what we are together. It's gonna get interesting as we all start coming into our truths and we all start realizing who we are as human beings and how much we've been lied to. And then as we tell the truth through the stories that want to be told through us, because we are the living, breathing vessels of truth, then yeah, it's gonna get good. That's all that I like feel like saying. It's gonna get good.
Well, I agree. I think most people struggle on think like, well, here we go. Referenced it earlier. It's like people think like you keep coming back. Like you said, like it's not like A, B, C, D. It's not a process like that. No, healing is a and not just healing. Growth is a cyclical process, and that's really hard for people to wrap people. I'm included in that. Like my human brain has a hard time. Like I want to process and like here's the path, input, output. Like, but it's not that. It is a cyclical process, and you must come back to it. And you learn to fall in love with the process and the journey of the self. And I think what you said there is the shifting where we've been taught, like some people have been taught, oh, I'm just broken, or you're not. You just haven't you haven't found the right fit. My buddy said this the other day. I think you'll appreciate it. He's like, there's nothing wrong with you. You just haven't found the right people yet. And
Exactly.
that really resonated with me because what it really told me is you're not broken. You just haven't found the right relationship with yourself yet. I
Correct.
think if we come back to that, go figure. But it's you can't have that relationship until you're willing to look at all those pieces and stop looking at them as demonized, which I think is you're pretty eloquently sharing right there. And
Yep.
uh, I love
Exactly. It's like the patterns that you carry, right? That's why even when I look at like someone like my mom, even, right, who struggled with alcoholism her entire life, as crazy as this sounds, and this is not to excuse any of that behavior because we know what alcoholism and drug abuse does to family systems, it's absolutely terrible. But there's an element of that person is holding this entire pain sequence for the entire family to witness, and so that they don't also have to carry it, so that they can look at it and learn from it and see what's gone wrong. And that's why I believe my soul chose an alcoholic mother. And so much of like how I grew up informs my work now completely and fully. So, there's I look back at everything I experienced, from all the forms of abuse, all the forms of trauma that I experience on a regular basis, and literally I'm completely at peace and I'm completely grateful and grounded in who I am and who I became because of those things. And everyone can get there, no matter what they've been through. No matter what they've been through. Everyone can get there. And that's why I love the ancestral alignments work, is because it allows you to heal the things that have been unspoken. So a lot of sexual trauma will come up in this work too. And it's a lot of the repressed things, the dark things that people are so afraid to look at and touch. And we just address it. We just say it. We just tell it like it is, without needing to make anyone wrong, but to say the things that were never said, to express it in the way that it was never expressed, to the lineage, to the sides of the family, right? And once it's released, it's like, oh, it's out. Like, it's out there energetically. And this wasn't about needing to have an intervention with somebody, needing to sit down your abuser and do X, Y, and Z. It's different. It's a different frequency, and it's a different way of going about this stuff. And when you spoke on what your body was telling you, it made me think of, I think it was a post that I saw that I just like, oh, I completely resonated with. It was something along the lines of, back in the day, right? In our ancestry, our ancestors didn't necessarily have to sit around and bog themselves down over not knowing what their purpose was, because they would be tracked by the people in their tribe, by the people in their community, and the community would see what they were good at. And the community would then put them in the forefronts of that thing. Like, the community knew how to use people. And we don't have that anymore. So what do we have to do? We have to like climb to the mountaintops, bang on the drum like you said, and say, hey, I know this thing. And that's so hard for so many of us to do. Like, I know how to do this thing really works. And we have to like believe in ourselves, and we have to trust, and we have to like say, no, this works. I believe in myself over and over and over again. And that's where a lot of people get capped and become afraid, is because now we have to be our biggest advocates. Now we have to be our whole community, but in one person for ourselves, to be able to trust, like, okay, no, I'm onto something. No, I know this is for the people. No, I know I can serve. No, I know this is what people need, right? It's like we have to continually come back to the belief in ourselves, bang on the drum from the mountaintops, create our content and say, hey, you need to try this. You need to do this. This is going to help you in X, Y, and Z way. So, and really it's our responsibility to do that. We have to fill in the gaps for ourselves. And we as humans are being required to wear more hats probably than ever before in this modern time. But we can do it. My thing is like continually motivating and inspiring people to do that, because who's going to do it for you? No one. We don't, as much as I want us to build and have strong community, we don't have it. That's what we're here to build. We're here to build the thing that's been lacking for so long. And for the person to go out and step out and be the leader, it takes a lot. It takes a lot. That's why the entrepreneurs know how lonely it gets, how fearful it gets, how scary it gets when you got a lot riding on something. That's why your soul is here to create pockets of spaces for people to come and heal, to be themselves, to get well, to live a fuller life, to live a better life. And it takes us.
I know you got to catch a flight in a bit, so we're
I
gonna
do.
we're gonna quickly bring it to a close. So somebody's like, "Yo, I need some ancestral alignment. I got to get in touch with my girl Candice." What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Two ways. You can go to my website, candicerebollo.com, CandiceRebollo.com. You can book a call with me there. You can check out the link to my Ancestral Alignments course. You can book it. I don't have a next date for the course lined up, but it's going to happen. Like, it's a TBD on the date, but it's coming. And you can also work with me one-on-one, right? Where I do these kinds of things. So the one-on-one coaching I do, yes, it's business related. Yes, it's entrepreneurial. Yes, it's to help people align to their purpose. But this is the work that we're doing. This is the work that is important for us to feel more healed, cleared, and understanding of what it is that, again, we're here to birth. So, and then Instagram, right? At Candice Rebollo is my Instagram handle. You can find all my links there. I have a retreat in Bali coming up June 1st. It's called Biz in Bali. It's for women who want to tap into that entrepreneurial air to what they're here to birth while doing all things spiritual, because I believe in combining right and left brain. Okay, so it's going to be, the masculine and the feminine, literally, aspects all in one beautiful retreat in Bali, where there's going to be very powerful activations and experiences that are just life-changing. And yeah, those are the best two ways. And you can feel free to reach out to me, DM me. I love responding to you all. Share how this was with me, takeaways for you. I love hearing your feedback, and I'm very interactive. I'm very flowy with all the people who reach out to me. So I will get back to you.
Love it. That will be in the show notes, everybody. So don't you worry. Candice, my dear, final words of wisdom before we go.
I want everyone to know to live and embody your truth in whatever wild, kooky, woo-woo, simplistic, structured way that is for you. Whatever your soul wants to do it. Let yourself express it. And especially for my entrepreneurs, because they're so near and dear to my heart, because I am one, and we know the struggle. The struggle is real, but I hope to inspire every single one of you to continue to keep trekking, keep the trek going. And it's going to get easier for all of us the more that we embody who we are, what we are, and how we're here to change the planet. So we're all so powerful, and none of us can do this alone. And I'm so grateful for you, Kayla, for being one of those people and allowing me the space to come and share my message. I'm so grateful.
You're awesome. Well, I am deeply grateful for you just so happily wandering into my life, magnetizing, however it is, right? I know you got to go, so we're going to wrap it up right here. Everybody, Thank you for sharing your time and your energy with us today. And until next time, I remind you to love everybody.